before we start turning that around and our daylight starts shrinking, we are going to be seeing the potential of some rather warm weather coming our direction. So it is going to be uncomfortably on the warm side for a bit of time until we go straight on up into the hot conditions that we're going to be expecting. So if you have any plans for outdoors, I would be watching the forecast with a very good amount of interest to be on the safe side, because we're going to be looking at some pretty hot conditions out there for the next couple of days at least. So for right now, we are seeing some fairly quiet conditions, but that again is something that we are going to have to really watch to see what goes on, because again of the fact that we are seeing the potential for some more issues out there. Outdoor activities especially, you got vacation Bible school, you got summer classes going on, you got all sorts of stuff happening, so it's a good opportunity to make certain that you're paying attention to the weather. Heat is a killer in and of itself. It may not be anything that contains hail, tornadoes, damaging winds, but it is still a dangerous weather situation. So something to really think about at that point in time to make certain that you are, in fact, paying attention. All right, looks like we are recording. Everything is where it needs to be. So let me introduce you to Weather Overtime. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. This is the weather from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. Lookout Mountain, Raccoon Mountain, and the fading sunset off into the distance. No real good amounts of satellite overflights for tonight. Tried to look for some. One was a very faint Tiangong 1 flyover, but there really is not much more than that going on for this evening. Beautiful view from Lee Point. Again, Lookout Mountain and Raccoon Mountain out in the distance. And a beautiful sunset, at least what's left of it going on out there. We'll continue to see some very dry conditions. Plainview Outdoor Advertising camera there. From the Patriot Concrete camera, again, Lookout Mountain, the north flank over there showing sunset just above. Not much in the way of sunset to be seen from Tomahawk Crane and Rigging camera. We were looking at a couple of minor accidents around portions of the area close to this 2475 junction, and just past that direction, just off and away from Brainerd Road, there's a multi-vehicle accident taking place. The authorities are on the scene, and it looks like we've got a pretty good backup taking place. Let me just go for 1 second here and give you some information as to what's going on, because unfortunately at this point this looks like some problems taking place. If you're just joining us, again, we are live and direct from downtown, so we are watching very carefully what is going on at this point in time with, again, some problems with the traffic over on the side of the roadway there. Okay, great. Having to start over here. Hang on just 2 seconds. If you're just joining us, again, we are watching very hot weather conditions coming our way, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I want to make certain everybody's aware of this particular situation that we have. Again, construction to the east to the west of this, but we are looking at the area right around and past that 2475 junction. Multiple units of the authorities on the scene. This is northbound 75, southbound 75 traffic slowing with some rubbernecking going on, but it looks like all the traffic now has been shut down. Looks like wreckers are getting into position at this point, so that could be a problem. And again, what we're looking at is that particular area right around past the 2475 junction that we just showed you. So right up just south of Shallowford and just north of the Brainerd Road area. So that could be a bit of a slowdown taking place there. So please use caution in that direction. Again, that's up that direction from this. The backup has not reached this particular camera. So we'll be monitoring that throughout the rest of the evening, so stay tuned again for more on that. Chattanooga Theater Center camera brought to you by Speedy's Total Car Care. A few folks out and about on the footbridge having a good time, just enjoying the very nice weather. And from the Chattanooga Zoo Ice Cream Safari webcam, looking back toward Erlinger Hospital over there on 3rd Street, and some leftover sunset. Beautiful conditions for right now. and going to see that continue into the rest of the evening. It is very nice. Temperatures are very mild, back into around the mid to upper 70s. Not quite as warm as it was last week Friday, but we do have, again, some warm conditions out there, and we'll be staying that way throughout the rest of the evening. Taking a look at the almanac page, we did not manage to hit a record high. We were actually nearly spot on, within a couple of degrees, a record high that hasn't been broken since 1953. We were fortunately 4 degrees away from that, and about 14 degrees away from a record low temperature. So pretty much walking that fine line right there to give us a very nice day for today. Probably will not be lasting that long from what it looks like. Almanac page for solar and lunar activity. We are getting into a waxing crescent. We're almost to the first quarter moon. We're up to 14 hours, 28 minutes of daylight. So we are looking at some much brighter conditions for at least the next 11 days, as we said, but we'll be coming close to some very getting back toward losing daylight here relatively soon. Not seeing a lot in the way of problems. We got some clouds drifting through, but most of those were kicked up by the heat of the day and the sunlight, and those are now basically withering away. A lot more thunderstorms down to our south, and a lot more activity is going to be expected way on down into and around Florida. So from Alligator Alley all the way back up to around Destin and Pensacola, right in the midpoint of the peninsula. That is where we could be looking at a lot of problems. Not of a organized tropical nature, but we'll explain that coming up here in just a little while, so stay tuned for that. Let's paint you the big picture and give you an idea again as to what we're looking at for now. We are going to see high pressure keeping things very much on the quiet side, and we'll continue again to monitor for any changes. Low pressure helping to escort in some of that drier air, but that's also bringing more moisture up the eastern seaboard, so more chances of showers and thunderstorms over parts of the Virginias and down the coastline. Now, as we go out a little farther, we see a couple of things taking place here. Number one, high pressure keeping things dry for now and blocking any storm systems from well on up to our north. Secondly, we see a number of storm systems lined up from here all the way out to the Gulf of Alaska. So these storm systems could be affecting us, but this big heat dome of high pressure is going to be both warming us up and basically blocking anything in the way of showers or thunderstorms coming through. So we've got about a week of dry conditions for this area. So that is something that for right now seems to be working both in our favor and against us. There's not much in the way of rainfall for outdoor activities, but there's a lot of heat coming on through, and we'll set that up for you coming up here in just a little bit. What we're going to be seeing is, again, let's start off with the short range here. For tomorrow morning, temperatures in the 50s, beautiful, maybe a few lower 60s, and it looks like we'll be mostly clear. Few more clouds tomorrow, and temperatures remain on the mild side, lower to mid 80s for the most part. And then as we go into Wednesday, temperatures in the high 50s, high pressure scoots east of us, and we start to see less in the way of anything really happening with cooler weather as that air around high pressure over here rotates around back to the north. For us, the winds are going to start to come back in out of the south-southeast, and that means more moisture, so it's going to feel a little bit more sultry around here. And then we're going to be seeing warmer temperatures because, as you can see, as we go into and around Thursday afternoon, a lot of the computer models are putting us into the lower 90s, even some mid-90s just south of us. So the heat is on its way, and as we go toward the end of the week, not that cool in the morning, from upper to mid-50s to upper 60s to lower 70s. And then into Friday, another cold front is on the way. Doubtful that's going to get here as we look for the potential of more showers and thunderstorms to happen after as we go into the weekend, but some hot conditions all the way on through into the next several days. Now, when it comes to anything involving heat, we really do not have anything going on at this point. Let me rearrange a couple graphics here so I have them where I want to talk about them. Okay, so for heat alerts, Nothing going on with us in the News 12 viewing area. North Georgia, Northeast Alabama, Southeast Tennessee, and western parts of North Carolina. Meanwhile, well back to our west from Texas through California, San Joaquin Valley, Las Vegas, down into Arizona and New Mexico. Lots of advisories out there, including excessive heat watches and excessive heat warnings for the areas in brick red and pink, respectively. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states under heat advisories here. There were a lot more last week, but now that heat has shifted a little bit, most of this is just seasonal heat more than anything else. What we are going to be looking for is that potential of some warmer conditions coming on through into the next several days. The worst of it is going to be well on up to our north. So the Great Lakes down to the Ohio River Valley, that brick red color right there, that's going to be the best potential for getting the hotter conditions. And then we see us in the not quite as hot category, but still looking at above normal temperatures as we get into the early portion of the weekend and the later portion of this week. So if you haven't, basically the bottom line is if you haven't gotten your air conditioning fixed, now would be the time to do so, because we're going to be looking at some possible major problems out there where the heat is concerned. Beautiful view. All these cameras we've been showing you on the EPB Fiber Optics WeatherCam network, which you can access at wdef.com/weather if you'd like to check out all of our EPB Fiber Optics webcams. A lot of stuff happening in the next few days. We've got Flag Day coming up on Friday. The weekend's coming up with Father's Day on Sunday. And then next week is World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Tomorrow, again, fairly much on the mild side. And then we see numbers heading upwards, way above normal, about a category above normal into the end of the week and into the weekend. Going to be roasting around here. Chances of rain, as we said, high pressure taking care of that. And we'll be seeing next chances of rain coming up Sunday night into Monday, and even then those chances don't look great, so there's not really a lot going on where that is concerned. But notice that trend right there as we go from right below normal, pretty good for this time of the year, to way above normal, and that is where we get into some temperatures back into the mid 90s, and that maybe some upper 90s coming our way. So something to think about there. Asteroid Day, that's coming up at the end of the month. If you don't know about it, it's a celebration and a warning day to urge and participate more in science and technology and mathematics and astronomy and a whole bunch of other things. It happens on the anniversary of what is called the Tunguska event. If you've never heard of that, going to be an interesting shock to see for you how you react to that, but that was a unique thing that happened back in 1908 in Russia, and that's the reason why we celebrate Asteroid Day on the end of the month, June 30th. But more on that coming up later on, so stay tuned for more there. Let's take a look and see what's going on into the tropics, which right now does not amount to much, thankfully, because we are looking at a couple of problems in this area. The first one is in the fact that we have no tropical activity taking place. That's the bad news. The good news is we don't have any immediate tropical activity taking place. The bad news, again, is that until we get some tropical activity swirling over these waters, the energy in the top level of the ocean builds and builds and builds. It's called ACE, Available Convective Energy. And that is something that really needs to be paid attention to, that the longer we go without a storm to stir things up, the more energy is going to be available for any tropical systems to take advantage of. And for right now, we don't have much of anything. What we do have is this collection of clouds here in the Caribbean and the Gulf. It's not much, but there is just a little bit of a spin to it. So as this moves up toward West Florida, this is going to be shoveling a ton of moisture up this direction. So once again, from around Alligator Alley all the way back up to around Destin, Sarasota, if my wife's relatives are watching down there, you're going to get soaked. There could be around the midsection of the peninsula, we could be looking at 5 to 7 inches of rainfall. And again, this is not an organized tropical system. It is possible that we could see something out of this, but the National Hurricane Center has not said that this is an actual developing system. So for right now, we're just waiting to hear from them to see if it does manage to make its way into something. It could, but it's also not really going to be affecting us well on up to the north of us. So that's good news. But if you're planning a beach vacation, Miami to Destin in that particular area, Tampa to Orlando, Sarasota, Clearwater, you could be getting some exceptionally heavy rainfall within the next couple of days. But hopefully nothing in the way of anything involving anything organized and tropical. The temperatures on the maps continue to be very disturbing because as of right now, anything in these dark orange categories, anything around and upwards of orange and yellow, that is bathtub warm water. And that is where if a storm system moves over this particular warm area of the Caribbean and the Gulf, especially this area right here, which is called the loop current, that is what boosted Andrew's strength and also Katrina's strength to get it up to a Category 5. Did a couple good jobs on the storms of last year on the west-southwest side of Florida. Notice the temperatures here, the buoys maintaining temperatures in the high 80s down to the Bay of Campeche, right off the Straits of Florida. Some very warm water right there around Florida. And temperatures here, southwestern Cuba, are registering at 90 degrees in that little pocket of warm conditions. And also looking at some pretty warm conditions between Miami and the Bahamas. So we are seeing some ugly conditions here that if something were to move from over off to the east and over to the west and interact with this, we could see rapid intensification very quickly. So if you have any plans for travel, I think you can go ahead and keep them. But what I think you also need to watch out for, anywhere in the Gulf, anywhere in the Keys, Caribbean, anywhere in the Bahamas, up the East Coast, and that goes all the way up to pretty much Chesapeake Bay pretty much. Notice the Gulf current right there would be able to help get those conditions really going for a particular storm if they happen. But so far there is no sign of anything going on back to the west. And here's some good information, some good news. This can do a very good job of working against us. We've got a very steady, I'm going to put this into motion so you can see the forecast for the next several days, a steady stream, a pipeline of dust, dirt, and sand being blown out into the Atlantic by the Sahara, by the trade winds moving off this direction. What we're looking at is, again, all this dust going way up into the atmosphere and acting like a shield, helping to bounce more sunlight back off and away. It's now increasing some of the albedo of the planet, getting rid of some of the extra heat going on. What that means is this particular area of the ocean, which is where storms develop, right off the coast of West Africa around the Sahel, this is where we could be getting, but we're not so far, any development, and it could be this dust layer that is helping us on that. Now, that's really good news. Again, keeping the temperatures down here, but then also seeing the weakening of the dust by the time it gets all the way over here to where we could be seeing some big problems once the patterns shift and the dust quits, or at least kind of drops off a little bit. That is where we could be seeing new storm systems develop very quickly, and especially as we go into the next several days and months. So that is something that we really need to be paying attention to right there. All right, for right now, again, nothing going on in the tropics, so definitely some good news on that. Welcome to everybody on Twitch and YouTube who's tuning in. Glad to have everybody along for the ride. If you got questions or concerns or want to share anything, just go ahead and send them in to us. Drop them into the comments section. We're monitoring what's going on there on Twitch and on YouTube so that we can keep an eye on what's happening. And if there's anybody there who has any questions, we'd love to be able to answer your questions. Just go ahead and say hi if you want to. So thanks a lot for dropping by for tonight. All right, so coming up in the next several days and weeks, it's not here yet, and it won't be here for give or take about 2 weeks from yesterday, Sunday, National Lightning Safety Awareness Week is coming, and that will be, again, starting June 23rd, Sunday, June 23rd, and continuing as we go into that last week of June. That is typically when that particular amount of awareness week happens. This is something to raise awareness as we go into summertime, the first week of summertime. This is a time where we want to make certain that we are paying attention to lightning outdoors. And I'm just giving you a teaser here. We'll have more on National Lightning Safety Awareness Week coming up. But from the National Lightning Safety Council, note the text in the middle of the screen where no place outside is safe. And again, that's going to be one of our questions coming up later on when it involves lightning. You can have a thunderstorm happening at one particular place, and then you can have a zone around that where lightning can strike from that storm 20 to 30 miles away. And that is called a bolt from the blue. And that means anybody, anywhere within that radius of that storm can get struck by lightning. So it's important to remember this catchphrase: when thunder roars, go indoors. And that is something we'll be talking a lot more about in the course of the next several days and weeks. From News 12's Your Environment section, if you'd like to know more about this, this is coming up, or is going to be next week today. It's called National Day or World Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. The changing weather patterns of our planet brought on by fossil fuel-induced climate change are starting to cause real problems in areas that are getting intensely more dry and dumping a lot of rainfall in places that doesn't really get it. And you might think, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, no, not really. That's the patterns being disrupted by climate change and what we as humans using our fossil fuel engines are doing to the planet. So fighting back against drying up areas and also learning about the patterns of drought, where they can hit, how bad they can be. If I recall correctly, there was a period of time back in about the 1500s, according to paleoclimatologists, watching the area around South America that got hit by a mega drought for years, if not decades, because of the changing patterns. And that was way before fossil fuel use. That just gave us an idea as to what can go on in those types of situations. So if you'd like to know more from the United Nations, you can go to un.org and plug in Desertification Day. You can go to the United Nations Environment Program, and there are tons of other places available to find out more about what desertification and how intense drought can be. There's many different sources out there. The science is very clear about that and about our changing planet and what is causing it. So if you'd like to know more, plenty of websites, and we'll talk more about this as we go into the course of the next several days. So definitely want to stay tuned for more with news on that. Speaking of which, for today on our friendinroofing.com weather poll of the day, which is available at our website, from the Nature Conservancy, climate change is causing what affects Earth's oceans? Coral bleaching, the increase in temperature wiping out entire coral communities. Yes. Increased acidity from absorbing all that carbon dioxide. Yes. Habitat displacement, pushing sharks and other species into other waters where they weren't before because of temperature change or acidity or because there's a lack of food. Yes. So for 89% of you, and Kay and Andrew, who both voted on this, the answer is sadly pretty much all the way is all of the above. So thank you for voting in our poll. If you'd like to vote in our poll for the day, please go to wdef.com/vote now, and you can vote in our poll of the day. And thanks to everybody who dropped by to vote on news, weather, and sports. Thanks, to News 12's Chip Chapman, who forwarded this on to me, and thanking News 12 viewer Marsha Ward, taken from downtown Chattanooga. I don't know if this was sunrise or sunset, but I'm not going to quibble over a very beautiful picture. It's gorgeous. It looks like it happened at one end of the day or the other. Some absolutely beautiful pictures being sent in. Now, we've got some very gorgeous ones coming up for later on this week. Ton of pictures involving the aurora, the eclipse, starscapes out there we've had before, all kinds of stuff like that. Please send us in your pictures at wdef.com. And then we see again more from WDEF.com, our website/photos, or you can drop the pictures off at our social media pages in the comments section. But please give us a location or a description of what you were looking at. Our psychic powers are kind of below par, so it'd be a lot easier if you could just tell us what you were looking at on there, and that would help out if at all possible. Think that is going to do it for tonight. We've been on for just about half an hour, and we don't have any satellites flying overhead tonight or tomorrow morning, so not much of anything that we can give you there. We'd love to be able to show you more about that, but some nights there just isn't anything flying over. There is coming up, the next big thing where it comes to a meteor shower is a fairly small meteor shower. It's the Southern Delta Aquarids. It'll be in the southern skies, and it looks like I lost my graphics, so I'll have to get a new one on there. But basically, you're looking right below the constellation of Pegasus, between Pegasus and the southern horizon. This is going to be going into effect. It'll start on July 18th and finish up August 21st. So you've got about a month going on there, but the peak of which will be the 29th and 30th of July. And it's not a huge meteor shower. Again, 25, give or take, per hour. That's about one meteor every 2 to 3 minutes. So we're not talking about a huge shower like the Leonids or like the Perseids, which are coming up in August, but we'll tell you more about that later. But this, if you'd like to do some meteor spotting, this will be about your next best bet of picking up just about anything there. If you'd like to see anything else on our pages, please go ahead and send those in to us. Don't forget that you can also check out Weather Overtime. It's available on our app. So download the WDEF Weather app and find out more about what we are doing on here and what it looks like out there, so we keep you updated online, on the app, or again on air if at all possible. So join me on my social media sites. Tried to log into Facebook again. They're still not letting me focus in or log in at any point in time, so I'm kind of stuck in limbo at this point, and won't be getting that back anytime soon, I guess, from what Facebook is telling me, because they don't believe that I am who I am, even though I've sent them multiple copies of IDs. My Facebook career, I guess, is at an end for the time being, or maybe all time. I don't know. So for tonight, that should pretty much do it. No comments on YouTube, no comments on Twitch for tonight, but thank you to everybody who's been signing up to follow on. Really great to have you along on here, so thank you very much for signing on, all that. If you've got questions or want to contact me directly, again, it's aonek@wdef.com. My email address at the lower portion of your screen. Our website also in the lower bar of your screen, wdef.com/weather. You can see our complete forecast update. You can catch the replay of News 12's Weather Overtime on our weather page at wdef.com/weather. And you can also keep track of a whole bunch of other neat stuff, our graphics, our radar, a whole bunch of other stuff. Don't forget, teachers, next semester we'd love to get to your classroom, so please go to our Weather in the Classroom page, bookmark it, and get back to us when you have a schedule for the fall semester. We would love to be able to come out to your classroom, but please get your requests in as early as possible, because, again, it fills up very quickly, and before you know it, the next time we're going to be able to come out and see you will be in the spring semester after the holidays and in the middle of winter. That's how fast those things fill up. So please make certain that you're signing up for that and keeping an eye on that as well. And of course, don't forget to follow me on all my social media pages, again, minus Facebook. I have no idea what's going on there, but I can't get anybody to answer me about getting me back online, so I guess I'm done. All right, that should do it for tonight. I think that'll do it. About a half an hour on for right now, and very quiet Monday otherwise. So again, thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks for stopping by WDEF.com/weather. Chip Chapman will have your forecast bright and early on Tuesday morning starting at 5 a.m. And of course, I'll be back on Tuesday night with another update of News 12's exclusive video weather blog, Weather Overtime. So live and direct from downtown Chattanooga, I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. Thanks for tuning in and watching, and stay tuned for more with News 12 on air and online. And we'll see you again on Tuesday.